Hey Deckers, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is finally on Steam, and with a whopping 60% off right now, it's a great game to pick up and play. And you'll be pleased to know that Cloud Save Cross Save is working perfectly fine, so I was able to pick up my previous Cloud Save from Ubisoft Connect and pick up where I left off. Unfortunately, this doesn't hold 60 frames per second off the bat, but we're going to take you through the best settings here of what my favourite settings are overall, as well as stable 30 and 40 frames per second. So see if you can tell the difference between the three here, and then we'll dive into each one. Just a side note, FSR does not do great in this game, as you can see here. Keeping the medium settings for 60 frames per second with FSR on quality or even balance does not hold 60 frames per second still, it just makes the image look worse. So if you are thinking about using FSR, then I would just avoid it in this one, especially as every time you change the settings, you have to restart the game. So let's start off then with my favorite settings. This is actually 40 frames per second on the high preset with motion blur disabled, VSync enabled, and also the Steam Deck capped at 40 Hz. This looks absolutely fantastic on the Steam Deck. Just look at the overall environment here and the quality on the water, as well as the birds flying around and the smoke from the villages here. You will notice that we'll get a bit of a lag spike every now and then, especially when the autosave kicks in. It does just dip it down a few frames per second, but overall the quality at 40 frames per second, even on fast motion, is absolutely superb. And you can see here that it does dip every now and then as we get towards some of the loading spikes, but it is fairly stable at 40 otherwise. And this is why this is my favorite, as it gets the higher quality and it also gets that higher frame rate just a bit more. And I don't mind the occasional little lag spike, and you don't really notice it that much overall. If you do want to make this completely stable though, you can put the FPS limit in game to 30. Keeping that VSync on, you will get much more stable. So you can see here, it will pretty much sit at 31 frames per second for some reason, and it still will get a very small lag spike every now and then, but the autosave lag spike doesn't seem to kick in at the 30 frames per second mark, so it does keep it within that window, so you get a much more stable experience. So if you are looking to keep the high preset and you just want overall stability, then capping it at 30 frames per second in the game itself, leaving the Steam Deck at either 40 or 60, will give you the best experience here. Again, even with the fast motion and going around on horseback, and even rain thrown into the mix here as well, it barely wavers. Again, you will get a load spike every now and then regardless of your settings, as you saw it dip down into the mid-20s there, but overall it will hold 30 frames per second for around 98% of the time. As you'll see here, even in combat, it does not waver from that 31 frames per second, and I will be avoiding that knight for a fair amount of time as he is triple my power rating. If you do want to keep a super solid 40 frames per second though, you need to drop this down to medium, and I would also say to put the frame cap to 40 in game as well as the 40 Hz mode. This definitely gave the most stable experience overall for me, and you don't notice a huge amount of difference apart from a little bit of blurriness around the character model and some of the further areas from high preset, although I do still prefer the high graphics overall, and you will still get that loading spike every now and then for the autosave at 40 frames per second even on medium. It is overall a lot more stable, probably around 98% of the time you will keep that 40 frames per second on the medium settings, whereas it's probably closer to 90% on high. Overall though, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is working absolutely perfectly on Steam Deck, and it is just going to be down to your preference whether you want to run at 30 or 40. Let us know in the comments below what settings you're going to be rocking. I'll leave you a bit of the 40 frames per second presets on high and medium side by side so you can get a feel for the game and performance and make up your own mind. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.